Doctor, is bitter gourd good for diabetes? Hi, I'm Dr. Chan. In this video, I shall tackle this question that I often get asked, especially by patients with diabetes. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Chan. I'm a medical doctor from Singapore, and in this channel, I talk about all things habits, especially the impact of lifestyle and eating habits on health. This is a bitter gourd, also known as bitter melon, a common ingredient vegetable found in many Asian cuisines. Bitter gourd does split opinions because some people love it. I love it. I didn't used to, but I now do. Some people love it, whilst many simply hate it. Mostly because, as its name suggests, it is very bitter. It has a very bitter taste that some just simply cannot get used to. It is often said to be an acquired taste. But one thing about bitter gourd that many people do know and agree on is its well-known potential blood sugar lowering properties. That is why I often get asked by my patients or my workshop participants this question: Doctor, is bitter gourd good for my diabetes? So let's tackle this question together. Firstly, is bitter gourd good for diabetes? It is actually not a very clear nor good question in my opinion. What does it mean? Is the person asking whether bitter gourd has blood sugar lowering properties? Or is the person asking whether bitter gourd has health promoting compounds that could help combat the pathophysiologies or complications of diabetes? The two questions are somewhat related, but not quite the same. Most of the time, people are referring to just the former, which is whether bitter gourd has blood sugar lowering properties. In this video, I'm not going to focus on reviewing and analyzing the many scientific studies on bitter gourd's blood sugar lowering potential. Let's keep it simple. Let's tackle this question: is bitter gourd good for diabetes? On the assumption that bitter gourd does have some blood sugar lowering properties to some degree. My first response to the question is this: controlling blood sugar is only one of the things that needs to be done. It is certainly often the first and obvious step in the management of diabetes, but it is not and cannot be the only step, because effective management of diabetes must include holistic interventions to reduce the risk of diabetes complications. And for that, we must look at improving all aspects of one's lifestyle and dietary habits with the goal of retarding the progression of diabetes and reducing the risk of diabetes complications. So even though bitter gourd does have some blood sugar lowering properties, adding bitter gourd to one's diet cannot be the only thing that one does for diabetes management. Secondly, even though bitter gourd does have some blood sugar lowering properties, do you know how much you need to eat to achieve the blood sugar level target that you need? How often do you need to eat bitter gourd? Do you intend to eat bitter gourd at every single meal for the rest of your life? What about the blood sugar control for the meals that you do not have bitter gourd? Therefore, even though bitter gourd may have some blood sugar lowering properties, people with diabetes should not be looking at eating bitter gourd for glycemic control. Certainly not as the only or mainstay of management for good blood sugar control consistently. Thirdly, to control one's blood sugar spike after food, shouldn't one first look into all aspects of one's dietary eating habits that need to be changed and improved to reduce the unhealthy spikes in blood sugar, instead of just looking into what to add into one's existing diet to bring down the blood sugar spikes? I often use this analogy of a fire extinguisher and fire to teach my patients and coaches, where I liken unhealthy blood sugar spikes to fires and likened eating bitter gourd to using fire extinguishers to put out fires. And shouldn't one focus on making the necessary changes to prevent fires in the first place, instead of merely depending on using fire extinguishers to put out the frequent fires that occur and which are totally potentially preventable? In order to successfully combat diabetes and have good health outcomes in spite of having diabetes, people with diabetes must do more than just occasionally adding into their meals foods that have potential blood sugar lowering properties, such as bitter gourd. Critically reviewing one's lifestyle and eating habits holistically, and then making the necessary changes to prevent and combat diabetes complications must remain the cornerstone of one's fight against diabetes. So don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there are no health benefits to bitter gourd, or that bitter gourd does not have any blood sugar lowering properties. All I am saying is that people with diabetes should not expect their eating bitter gourd occasionally to be able to control their blood sugar adequately and consistently. People with diabetes must continue to work closely with the doctors and medical teams to regularly monitor their conditions, as well as to identify and make the necessary changes to the lifestyle and eating habits to combat diabetes holistically. Lastly, I recommend seeing bitter gourd as food, taken in normal culinary doses in the form of whole food, instead of as a medicinal compound to be taken in high concentrated doses in the form of pills, potion, or juices. Bitter gourd can certainly feature regularly as an ingredient in our foods that we can use for many dishes as part of a healthy eating habit. For me, I love eating bitter gourd stir-fried in fermented black bean sauce. Yums! I hope you have enjoyed this video. Let's continue to unlock the power of habits. One video, one habit, one dose at a time. Have a blessed day.